it needs to be a 9-year gap in terms of age group. It needs to be a specific gender. It needs to be a background. Are they married? Are they not married? Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? If they're having joint pain, how long have they had it? What are they putting up with? If they're suffering from, excess weight, where are they carrying it? What does it feel like? All of this stuff, you have to define hell in order for you to know what heaven will look like for them. And it also gives you the step-by-step process. Because when Dan and I were breaking this down, and Charlie was talking about the topics that you would do in a podcast for your clients as kind of that extra level of service, he was talking about the topics that they need the most in order to make that journey. And you can only delineate those if you know what hell looks like. So you have to explore it.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Gaz, and that's exactly where we're going to start right now. Is we're going to actually make sure that we're really, really clear with what are the major problems here from our clients. All right, so we're going to get really clear. Now, you guys have seen this model probably before from me because I present it at a workshop, and it's in our content module. But I'm going to go through it anyway as we go through, and this is really getting clear on the problems that you solve. And what their hell looks like. And it is our 4 forces model. So if you haven't seen it before and you haven't done this, then it's extremely valuable. All right. There are 4 forces in terms of behavioral change. All right. As we go through, the top is what we call frustrations. Okay. Across from here is what we call wants. Underneath are fears. And underneath wants are aspirations. Okay. Now, what you want to do is you want to get really, really clear on who your client is first and foremost. It's almost assumed. All right. And as Charlie shared, and I really enjoyed that, was there's a number of different ways that we can do so. It can be demographic, it can be psychographic, but it can also be outcome based as well. All right. So who is your like absolute favorite person to train and want to train with? Who do you just want a whole lot more of? All right. That's a good starting point. All right. In terms of this, think about that person. All right. Now I want you to think about their frustrations, wants, fears, and aspirations. And let me talk through what the differences are as we go through. So frustrations, first and foremost, are short-term in nature. All right. So they are short-term. They are nagging. All right. Frustrations. They kind of eat away at people. All right. So they're laying in bed at night and they can't stop thinking about it. All right. As we go through. Wants are the absolute polar opposite to that. All right. So they are too short term and they're really the mirror. All right. So this is the mirror. All right. To the frustration is their want. But really the major things that eat away at people are fears. All right. These are when these frustrations, and you should be able to list several, when they manifest themselves over the long term, they become a fear. And this is the stuff that absolutely eats away at them. This is the stuff that really, makes them very emotional. It can lead to a lot of anxiety and a lot of pain and a lot of heartache because they're thinking of these things, right, as they go through. And that's the hell. This stuff is the hell. This is the stuff, this is their hell. And that's what we want to define. So what I want you guys to do, I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes. It's something that you should come back to time and time and time again, is I want you to start working through the frustrations, wants, fears, and aspirations of that client that you want to serve, all right, as we go through.
Not only will this help you devise your signature program, folks, but it will help you immediately with your sales, because the story that you tell back to people, when you listen to them, you will connect with them better if you have an understanding of what their fears are and how it may affect them. And you'll ask them those questions, those big questions that Igor was talking about, in an open way, and they will tell you that, right? And so that is a way that you will be able to serve them, because you will know it from the very first call.
All right, guys. So I'm going to stop there. Obviously, it's a process you need to spend a little bit more time on, but you now should start to get an idea of what their main fears are, what their major problems are, the stuff that has them feeling like they are in hell. All right. The want or the aspiration, all right, is the promise. It's the heaven as we move through. So let's use a live example. I'd love to workshop it with somebody as we go through. So does anyone want to volunteer what the major fear is, the hell is of their ideal customer? Don't be shy, folks. Take yourself off mute.
Okay.
Kim says,
Okay.
Kim, you're on.
Yeah, I think for me, like judgment or just being self-conscious, like not feeling comfortable in the space they're exercising in.
Okay, so their hell is that they feel shame. Would that be right?
Yeah, shame and judged.
Yeah. Okay, so they feel shame. They feel discomfort. They feel judgment. I'll put that in there as well. Okay, and what's your promise?
That everybody will feel comfortable and work together as a community regardless of their body shape or their ability.
Okay, so they feel comfortable. What else do they feel?
Empowered.
Empowered. What else?
They enjoy exercising, so they enjoy their time at the gym.
Joy, fulfillment. Yep. What else?
I'm trying to think of the right word. Like they achieved a lot more than they thought they could.
Yep. Okay, so sense
I'm
of
trying to put that into one word, but I can't.
Yep. Confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And just community, like teamwork, I think is a really big thing for me as well.
So are they here, they feel lonely maybe, or on their own?
Yeah.
Okay, and here they team. Okay, great. Okay, so they walk in like this, right? This is how they walk into your business. They walk in like that and they walk out like this. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, excellent. All right, so they walk in like that, and then they end up walking out like this. How do they get there? What's the first step? What's the very, very first step that happened? Now, we don't have to do all these steps in order, but for this example, I'm going to put Kim on the spot. What's the first step that enables them to take a little step towards heaven?
They either start following us on social media, look us up online.
Okay, and what do you do? What's the first step you do? Sorry, that's my bad.
So that when they contact us.
Yep.
So I chat to them about their current, position where they're at.
Okay, so there's a conversation.
Yeah, so consultation.
And how would that consultation be different to what they've experienced?
I don't really know. I think I just explain, like let them talk and explain how we operate and give them a sense of ease in the first place. Just, it doesn't matter if you're really unfit and if you're really big and you've never done anything before, like just explaining, I guess, what we're about.
So that's the first feeling that you want them to have. You want them to feel at ease in your business. So let's say if you were to develop this into your 12-week strategy or your signature program, you'll go, how am I currently helping them feel at ease? Could I do that better? Because everything else follows on from that. So it might be that you check your process slightly, you may schedule a different type of meeting, there's different ways you could do it, but now you start to go, okay, this is how I would do it in my signature program.
Yeah, so we'll call this like, there'll be a better name around it, but we'll call it like the soft consult, right? So it's a very deliberate consult. You might be intuitive to you right now, Kim, and the more we can systemize this is the better, but you're obviously evoking feelings straight away of no judgment, making them feel comfortable, removing kind of any intimidation that they may have. Like, it's a different type of conversation. It's a different type of consult than what they're used to. All right.
Yeah, there's like, I mean, I think sales is something that I really do need to continue working on, but there's no kind of element of it feeling like a sales conversation. It's about them. It's not about selling them something.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
It's about helping them understand that they can feel safe and happy within our environment, I think.
All right. I like that. All right. So
Two-way interview, Dan.
What's
right?
that?
Let's call it a two-way interview. So they can ask her all the questions that will help them feel at ease.
Yep.
Ask her the questions to make sure that moving forward, they're the right people for that strategy or that solution.
Yeah, I like that. All right. So we'll call it a two-way, and not even consult. Consult's probably too strong. It's a two-way interview. All right.
Better.
All right. So can you immediately see, if you were just to explain, hey, what we don't do is we don't do sales conversations. We have a conversation and it's all about me finding out about you and me telling you a little bit about what we do. If you feel comfortable, we then move forward. All right. As you go through. All right. What would be the next step?
Generally, they'll get into our LBE.
Okay. So they'll start with a easy, so we'll
which
call
is
it kind of
generally 14-day.
Okay. So just like a small commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Great. So that just gives them, you're not trying to sign them in for anything long. It's not too expensive or anything else. It's a baby step. All right. Great. What's the next step?
Well, during that LBE, we spend I guess a lot of time, like we check in with them really regularly. They'll get a check-in every second day or so.
Okay. So
as well as all their programming and stuff, obviously, that comes along with it.
Okay. So there's check-ins every second day. Yep. So they feel really confident. All right. With that. Yep.
They receive onboarding emails with that as well, so that kind of cover our values, explain some of the ways our programs work, so they feel a little bit more comfortable when they come in.
Yep. So we've got this education and onboarding. So they're not feeling like they are being thrown to the wolves.
Mm.
Yep. Excellent. Love it. All right. After that.
So as the 2 weeks comes to an end, we'll always check in with them and see what they thought, what style of training suits them best, and then we'll roll them onto a regular membership from there.
Okay, so there's a personalized check-in. Yeah, and then there's a membership, a customized membership. All right. And I'm sure there's other steps here. There's community activities and challenges, and I know you do a whole bunch of this stuff, right? So there's social activities, community activities. All right, different different kind of challenges that set them up to win. So All right, as we go through. So obviously this is just rough. We're just working our way through it. But can you see, guys, that Kim has a very clear process? She has a signature system that takes the person that feels this to this. This is not guesswork. You guys are doing this, all right? But you probably haven't gone into as much detail as this in terms of taking someone from over here, all right? So over here, they're very sad, all right? To over here, they're really happy, all right, as we move through. And so there is a process, there is a system, all right? You may not have thought about that system. Kim may not have thought that she does all of these different things, all right, as we move through. But we create a name around this system. We showcase this to somebody when they come in. Do you think they're going to start feeling a little bit more confident when they come start training with Kim? Do you think they're going to feel a little bit more assured about training in this space? Do you feel like they are more likely to commit because they can see what's involved and what's included?
And it's able to be explained to them as well. in a way that really speaks to that person.
Yeah. So what I want you guys to do now, and before we do, I might just do a quick share of a system that we've used, all right? Completely different context, but it may be really helpful for you, is one of the biggest problems we identified in our education business was just plain and simply, just the standards, all right, of coaches. There was huge amounts of missing pieces in terms of what they could and couldn't do, just as an industry as a whole, all right, as we move through. So we used to just sell individual courses, which is kind of like selling a fat loss or selling, a nutrition program. And we could see that that was no longer suffice. So what we needed to do is we needed to create a system. So this is our adaptive functional training system. And immediately when I talk people through this adaptive functional training system, I'm like, all right, well, what we do first, in order for you to become a world-class functional trainer and a master functional trainer, what we need to do first is teach you how to assess. So then we go through exactly what they're going to do in there. Then once you learn how to assess, we're then going to go through how you're going to learn program design. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to restore function and movement for your clients. And then we take them through the process. And so when people are going through our sales consult, they can see exactly what they're going to learn and how each block builds upon the next. Creating this system was probably the most pivotal change we've ever made in our education company, because we went from selling a product to now selling something signature. Anybody, and you see it, there's 20 different kettlebell courses around the country. That's what we used to be known as. It's 20 different kettlebell courses in the country, yet there's only one adaptive functional training system. We wrote a whole book on it. And now, I think we've sold about 800 of these systems, all right, as a result. Why? Because we mapped out what the problem was, what the hell was. We had all these coaches that didn't have a level of knowledge that enabled them to have confidence in what they were doing or certainty. And we delivered a very strong promise that they are going to be world-class technicians that give clients outstanding results. And then we mapped out all the steps in between as we go through. You want to conceptually deliver it in a model, and we'll talk about models, probably run out of time today, but we'll talk a little about models as we go through. But you want people to see it in a very, very clear way. And so you want to be able to present it that way. So what I want you guys to do now is I want you to now have a look at your hell, have a look at your heaven, and I just want you to list all the steps in between, how you take someone from hell and how you get them to heaven, all right, as we move through. What's the problem? What's the promise? What's all the steps in between? Don't worry so much about order right now. Let's just get them down on paper, and then we can prioritize their order later on.
We got 30 people in the session, Dan. We didn't get shunned at the end. They still got staying power for us.
They're doing well. This is not easy. This is deep work as well. This is not easy at all.
They got this though.
All right. Whilst you guys are getting that down, Ellen's got a great question. Is your signature system ongoing, or does it have set intake dates? It can be either or, Ellen. So you can create this as this is our methodology that we use, or the signature system might be for a distinct product that you do a big product launch and everything else. So it can be either or as you move through.
So another way you can think about it is Joey was talking about the parameters that he would set up affiliate Jungle Brothers with, in terms of it's an operating system of how they approach it. So your signature system could actually be your methodologies or your values that you incorporate into every program that you run, not just like a one program kind of deal.
Yeah, so they do. I mean, theirs is fight, lift, move. Somewhat is their signature system. So that's the methodology that they use across the board. And do you use this alongside challenges, other onboarding events, and promotions? Yeah, it can be the key focus. Like it can be this is our whole business is built around this system, or you can build the system for each individual product as you go through. Just whilst you guys are doing the steps, just to kind of get you guys thinking, I showed you one of our systems in terms of how we visually showcase it. Here's another one. And this is the next generation fitness business system. All right. So the promises, the heaven, mass impact, freedom, longevity, and profit for a fitness business owner. All right. As we go through. All right. So they're the promises. And then our system is centered around, so the processes are centered around attract layers and systems. All right. As you go through. And this is what we teach.
Yeah. And so their hell is that they don't know how to attract the right clientele. They don't have different offerings within their business, and they don't have the systems. So that's the hell that they're currently living in, is that they don't have these three main areas. And so by providing that, you're bringing them towards that heaven circle or cross section.
Exactly right. I mean, fitness business owners are overworked, underpaid, they're burnt out, they've got low incomes, they're frustrated, they're tired, and they're thinking of giving it all away. All right. That's the hell that they come to. And so this is the promise, and this is how we actualize the promise, is by these things. So this is called a genius diagram. I think it's always really important, guys, if you're going to reference people's work, to make sure that you name them. So this is created by a guy called Simon Bowen. He's probably the best in the world when it comes to conceptualizing IP. So he's got a program called the Models Method. And then I've also learned a lot of this from a guy called Taki Moore. All right, so a lot of what I'm talking about will come from those guys.
Yana says they have a very structured system for LB and onboarding, but need to refine the ongoing system. So it's just an extension of that, Yana. Like if you look at the key concepts that you address in that LBE and that onboarding, it may just be an expansion or deepening of that for your ongoing system. It may help you. I hope your hand's all right. I know you've taken a lot of notes this weekend, so make sure you do some mobility on that shit. Yeah.
And again, it's not only, I guess what I want to really make sure get clear, guys, is it's not just the little administrative operational systems you take. It's the methodology that gets them from here to here as we go through. And again, you can visually demonstrate it, right? So at the top, like here's like triangles work really, really well. You go, all right, well, what we're going to do is we're going to start here. And we're just going to start, let's say you've got a fat loss accelerator program.
Sure.
Are we meant to see this? Sorry about that.
Yes, you are. You are.
Tracy especially, she admires your artwork, mate. So we need to see.
I've got some of the best. Some of the best. All right. So there's my great looking triangle. And so you might just go, look, it's nutrition habits, in this fat loss accelerator program. Then it is, basic movement, all right, as you go through. I'm just making shit up, all right? But if you can show people and visually show them what they're doing, and then now it's strength training, all right, as well. And, you know, there might be, I don't know, it might be like hormone testing, right? I don't know, as we go through. But if you can show them what you're going through, and you're like, when you come through in our program, first what we're going to do is we're going to spend the first 4 weeks here, all right? Once we've accomplished this and integrated this, then we're going to spend the next 4 weeks here, then here, and then here's the peak of the summit. If you can visually show them what they're doing, what the steps are, and how they actually reach their heaven, it's very, very powerful. Immediately, like this is your model, and only you have this model, and it sets you head and shoulders above everybody else. Fiona, you may ask a question.
All right, I just didn't know how to put it in typing. Your circle diagram actually probably just gave me an aha moment. When you said before about methodologies and values, so that's like your umbrella, and then it's like your process and systems for each thing underneath is still in line with that. Is it like that, those 3 circles, say for us, it would be like training, nutrition, and mindset? And is it a good way to encourage people then that we don't just want them just to train, that over time we want them to also be a part of our nutrition program? And we think you should also do our Harness Your Potential workshop, because when you combine the 3 together, this is how we see you getting best results.
Yeah, so the training, the nutrition mindset, you will hit upon quite regularly. Like a lot of people will talk about it, but the way that you work through it at RBM, that's your signature, right?
Create a system or a signature on your training side of things.
How you actually get those results.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people use those terms as throwaways, and you're like, look, people use this as throwaways all the time. But what we do here in terms of mindset is we do this, because this is the way that we've found to be most effective in helping our clients move to that next level. That's right, and that's where you stamp your unique brand onto it.
Cool. And so social proof is good for that as well, like asking our clients who have done all that and they've gone through the process.
Yeah, I'm going to go, that's a really good question. I'm going to go through the next part, because once you kind of got here's your problem, here's your promise. Now nutrition, movement, and mindset are a bit too broad and vague, right? So we want to break those down into more specific modules. Then what we use, and so I'll stop you guys there next. This is not my model, guys, all right? As we go through, actually a teacher came up with this. It's called format. Has anyone heard of format before? Yeah, all right. So it's pretty simple system. It's very, very powerful. So there's why, all right? There's what, all right? There's how, and there's now. All right. And so people will learn different ways, all right, as they go through. And so what the format model does is it takes them through how people process information, because people process it very, very differently. And so when you've got a module, so specifically you might have this nutrition coaching program, all right, within it. And we'll obviously have a name for it that is congruent and aligned with what you do. You're then going to talk about first a problem stack, all right, in terms of the why, all right? So a problem stack, what are the frustrations and fears? Again, we come back to this, 3 frustrations generally when we talk about the module, and 1 fear. You might go, well, you know, frustrations of people that, you know, that start with us when it comes to their nutrition, they don't know, you know, they don't know how to snack. They don't know how to do healthy snacks, number 1. Number 2, they don't know how to do meal planning. Number 3, there's such a myriad of misinformation. They don't know what's right and what's not right. Their fear is if they don't learn how to do this stuff properly, then they're going to end up like their mum that's got type 2 diabetes, for example. All right. I'm just using that as an example as we go through. Then you give a promise. So when you have your module, you have a promise. Now this is the wants, the 3 wants, which are going to mirror it. And you have your 1 aspiration. And then this is where you're coming to, is your proof. So when you're explaining it to the prospect or the person coming in, you're like, Julie was like this. These were her frustrations. These were her fears. This is how she is now. And this is why nutrition coaching is such a key element within our system. Helpful? Yeah, so format, how's it work? Number 1, this is the why. The why is all about the problems, the promises, and the proof. Number 2 is what? What do you want the person to do? All right, what's the next steps you want them to do? All right, in terms of imparting that module. All right. Number 3 is how do they do it? And then lastly, what do you want them to do right now in terms of it? In terms of the step. So each one of the steps along the way should have a why. It should say, clearly articulate what you want them to do, how you want them to do it, and what you want them to do right now. All right, so you want to format each one of your modules. Gaz, anything you want to add to that?
No, I'm pretty happy with your summary on that, mate.
Yeah, so now what we have, if we go up, we've got our hell, we have our heaven, all right? Or we have our problem, we have our promise. Walk in like this, walk out like that. We have all the steps along the way, and each one of those steps we're going to format, all right, as we go through. And then the next step is obviously creating a name for your signature system and creating some models in terms of how you can visually display it. I've shared a few different models, all right, already. There's the Genius diagram. There was you saw the MFT flow chart, you saw the triangle as you go through. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can. Another guy that's very, very good at this is Matt Church. So Matt Church, Simon Bowen, they're very, very good at taking the IP, all right, and then making sure that that IP is communicated, complex ideas are communicated very simply. So then when a prospect comes in, they can see it, all right? They can clearly see visually what you're going to do and how your system works and how your process stands apart.
Fantastic. Sarah, you had a question as well, I believe.
Yeah, so I was just going back to that triangle. So I find for myself, well, I don't even know if it's a question or if it's a statement, to be honest. I don't know. We'll see where it takes me. But I've sort of gone through our day and sort of just threw together his triangle. And generally for me, I work, when I start with new clients, we start off, I ask them to keep a food diary and then we work on movement. There's no point trying to build strength if they can't have the movement pattern. So there's no point trying to make sure we do it in order. And then obviously after we do that, we start to work out I go through and we talk about a little bit what in their mind is stopping them from achieving what it is. So I already guess once I saw that triangle, I was like, well, I pretty much have a triangle that I've not actually drawn. So I've got that. But then I find they sort of go through all those steps. And then the tip of the triangle, in that last bit, it's always about consistency. And I guess that's where I sort of get, I've got clients who are very consistent. So I'm not sure if this is a question or a statement, to be honest, but for some, they come into a program or they come into something looking for all of that, but then trying to keep them consistent afterwards is quite hard. So where along the lines, how do I sort of break that cycle, I guess? Because I guess maybe, is that just what happens with everyone? Is it because I'll probably maybe 2 out of 10 the consistency, they just sort of go off track. So is that something that is across the board, or is that something that I might have got wrong somewhere in my module? I mean, like I said, I don't even know if it's a question or a statement.
No, it's great. I love it. It's a great question. Because obviously you've got a model that is very like, all right, first we're going to focus on mobility, then we're going to do baseline strength, then we're going to do power, for example, as you ascend up this pyramid. But then how do we make sure that that behavioral change is long-term and that it's sustainable? And then that's probably like, again, you've got to create in your signature system, that's got to be a key module, is how do we habitualize this? All right. So how do we actually have, and it might be, you know, identity change or, you know, however it is, but there's an element of long-term behavioral change that now needs to be included in your model. And you go, and when you present it, it's like most people will go through a program and they'll yo-yo, you know, they'll get some great results. They'll do this, they'll do that. However, with us, that's not the case. And this is why, and as you ascend up, this is what we do to ensure that's not the, you know, that doesn't happen. So you might not have that piece. That's the piece we need to develop as we go through. The greatest book, I think, in terms of developing that piece, and I think everyone should have it, is putting a whole bunch of principles together from Atomic Habits, because it's the best behavioral change book I've ever read.
I'm so glad that you made that sound a lot better than it did for me, because my brain is fried. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm saying, but I'm glad you were able to save me there. But yeah, I'll look into that book. So
it's part of why we have these activities, Sarah. And what you want to do is you want to proactively address the things that affect their consistency. So, you know, the reasons or the reasons that people tell you for their consistency dropping off, you want to acknowledge those and proactively address them early on in your program. And then when you're outlining your program, you can tell them, you know what, I know you're keen as mustard and I'm glad that you're on board. This program is going to be fantastic for you, but we're going to make sure of that. And we're going to proactively address a consistent approach, habitualize it, so it never, ever becomes an issue for you. So you're sustainable and you can keep progressing. And that forms part of your problem, rather than waiting for them to drop off and then trying to get them back.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and trust me, consistency is one of the biggest things for every coach. I mean, how easy would our job be if our clients were consistent, right? How easy would it be for us to run our businesses if we were all consistently doing the things that we need to do? So it's a great question. It's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, and guys, just in terms of, I'm mindful of time and that we have to wrap things up, but you want to make sure that you green brain, and what I mean by that is the emotional part of your brain. You want to make sure that you green brain the name of your system. And so that is completely aligned to the outcome, the promise, the heaven that you're promising. So the name wants to be aligned with that, all right, as you go through. So perfect example is I jumped in Taki's program, one of my coaches for a while. It's called $1 Million Coach, and that's his system, all right, as he goes through. This is the $1 Million Coach system. Why? Because everyone there wants to become a $1 Million coach as they move through, all right? So that's a very clear example. Is now have a look at your promise. You want to give that a catchy name, all right, that is aligned with your values, but at the same time speaks to the limbic part of the brain, the emotional part of the brain, and gives them an outcome, all right, that they want. Gaz, I think I'm done.
Are you done, mate? You got no more.
I feel like there's a lot there for you guys to work on. We've done it very, very quickly, but you guys can see the process, the inner workings of how to get there and how to create your signature system. It will immediately, as I've said, and I've said it a couple of times, if you have a system, you're immediately different to the 24-hour gym. You're different to the Weight Watchers. You're different to the F45 and everything else. You've now got a patented process, and it positions you as an expert, positions you as a thought leader, positions you as a guru. It gives them assurance. It gives them confidence, all right, as you go through. And it also makes your life a lot easier, because if people aren't moving along the continuum from heaven to hell, then you've got to look at your patented system and go, what's not happening here? Where's the compliance not happening? So then we can make the necessary course corrections as well.
Yeah. And Jana hit the nail on the head. Refinement may be all that you need. It may just be that one missing link in the chain that's stopping it from achieving the results that you want.
Yeah, it's not so much that it's not achieving the results. It's more so that everything is so clear and nutted out on the LBE, but then when it goes into the ongoing training, we don't have an actual set plan there. So it's just sort of like an ongoing thing. So yeah. quite a bit of an eye opener as well to just put a little bit more focus into that again as well.
Yeah, and it's different. Your onboarding will encapsulate some of this, guys, but it's also different as well. So, onboarding, there's just certain elements that you want to evoke. You want to make them feel inclusive and educated and everything else. But this is the system that ultimately gives them the end result that they're craving as they go through. So, again, it's really get super clear. The clearer you can get, and I think it was Charlie that said it, you want to spend as much time possible really thinking about who your audience is and what they need before you just go and create stuff, all right, as you go through. And this gives you shape for your content as well. Not only is it what you're going to be presenting, but you just pull stuff out of your signature system. And you go, this is how we take people from here to here, and we focus here on this section. And it makes content delivery very, very easy, really, because you don't need to think about what to talk about, what to write about.
Brilliant.